What's up, peeps? So this might just be the most important video I put out so far. We'll see how this goes. Wanted to talk about investing in comic books, though. First off, I am not a financial advisor, nor do I work in the financial field. But you are going to hear today about what I've done with my money and how I allocate my funds when it comes to collecting in comics. I'll talk about some other stuff that I do also, and there's other people obviously that do it much better than me because they got a hell of a lot more money. But it's worked out for me so far. So what is an investment? An investment is an allocation of funds with the expectation of getting a return, hence return on investment. So comics is an investment, has become an investment, actually has always been an investment, really. It's just that a lot of people don't see it like that. I shouldn't say we, but a lot of people don't see it like that. They think of investments as a stock or a bond or gold, but comic books have always been an investment, and the stock market is here. They've been here for past 20 years. They've been here with us, taking the great books because they got the cash and they see the potential and they see what comics are. So in my opinion, you should not allocate more than 10% of your savings into your comic books. This is what I have done with my funds. Now, when I say 10% of your savings, I'm not meaning 10% of your check. I'm saying 10% of your savings, guys. You need money to eat, to house yourself, for grooming, for entertainment, right? I'm talking about what you can invest. I would say allocate 10% of it and put it into your comics if you love the comics, right? Now, what do you do with the other 90%? You should, in Wall Street, they always talk about diversifying, and it's not just Wall Street. Any type of investment that you do, any advisor will talk to you about diversifying your funds. Now, there's people that diversify different ways. So you can go into your 401k is an investment. An IRA is an investment. Bonds are investments, and then you have your solid investments that you could actually keep in your house, which there are people that actually keep gold bars in their house. Yes, that does happen. People that keep silver in their house, and then of course you have your Bitcoins and your digital type investments like that. But I would say with comic books, keep it to 10% and don't go above that, and try to monitor yourself while doing that. With the rest of my money, though, myself, I try, like when I go with my stocks, I try to go with dividend paying stocks. So that what that means is that a dividend can be paid in different ways. So it can be paid every quarter, which is every 3 months, or it can be paid every on a yearly basis. There's some stocks that will pay one dividend per year. Now, that doesn't mean that the stock isn't volatile. Any investment that you make has some type of volatility, and what that means is risk, including comics. But there is nothing out there, in my opinion, that has zero volatility. Zero. There's nothing, including real estate, and we've seen that in the real estate bubble. How many people lost their homes, right? So just because you have an investment doesn't mean that investment is going to keep going up. Now, what you want to do is you want to try to allocate on something that is probably less risky the older that you are, right? The younger you are, you can take your risks. You can take a lot of risks because you can make that money back. You have time. But I would suggest with the rest of the 90%, talk to a financial advisor and don't go to a mom and pop shop, your local guy. Don't do that. Those are the kind of guys that probably go out of business. And there's just so many stories where they take people's money, and you see a lot of Ponzi schemes, right? But I would go with the big names, your Fidelities, your Charles Schwabs, and go to somebody like that, and there's a ton of them, guys. There's a ton, and it's not just those. Merrill Lynch, as far as that goes. But let's talk about comics, right? So how do I invest in my comics? All right, so when you think about investing in comics, so where do you start, right? How do I decide what I'm going to invest in or not? If you're a comic book fan, you know how the old adage, invest in what you like or buy what you like? That's all fine and dandy, right? But if not too many people like what you like, and you should know, right? I like Mystery Men, but realistically, is that really an investment book? Maybe, maybe not. If the intellectual property gets picked up by Boom Studios and they ended up making another comic book and then they have another series for Netflix, yeah, that could become something. But realistically, it's something that I love. I love that cover, right? Flaming Carrot number 16. And it's something that I just bought for myself. But is that really an investment copy? And that's something that I like. Invest in what I like. That's something that stays in my PC because I like it. But when I think about an investment, then I go for something that I think is going to be an actual investment, right? So right here, what I've done is I've picked out some books from my PC that are true investments for me. Some of them are going to be high risk. Some of them are going to be actually no, that's the actually low risk. This one's the high risk, and this one's the must get. That's how I did it. I got a couple grails over there too, right? But if you don't know anything about comics and you just want to buy books, there's different ways that you can go about it. You can go after grails, but say this is now a grail without a shadow of a doubt. This is a grail. Don't overpay for it. You have to look at and research the book to see how much that book is going for, and don't overpay for it. As a matter of fact, don't even pay the market price for it. Try to get it at less than market price. Sometimes if you're savvy, right, see how the CGC label, see how that label looks. If you see a label that's like that and it's very dark like that, then that is more than likely a new label. If you see a label like this, see how the numbers are not as dark? That's an old label. Chances are 99% of the time that book has not been pressed, more than likely. So what you might want to do is look for a book like this. Either go on CGC, and you can, and a lot of people do this, they purchase the notes on the book and see if maybe, but you're going to be paying $5. I take a chance. right? So I sometimes, if I try to look at the pictures on the book or whatever, and if it has a an old label, I take a shot at it, send it in, see what happens, and I send it to CGC with the label, by the way. Let them break it and see if I can, get a grade bump on it. And many times I do get grade bumps on it. I have gotten grade bumps on it on quite a few times. But when I look at a book, let's say like this, right? This is a book that will always go up in value as long as you get it at a proper price. You don't want to overpay for it, because then you're already uphill, right? And you're waiting for it to get up there with you. So you don't want to you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself. But that's a book that will always go up in value. This is a book that will always go up in value, right? This is the first appearance of Thanos. Actually just found this in my PC, believe it or not. I didn't even know I had it. I didn't even know. It's a great feeling when you're looking in your PC and you find like treasures in it. It's just a great feeling, guys. I paid $30, I think, for this book. This is one of the first books that I bought back then, like when I first discovered Thanos. This was one of the first books that I bought. I think that's going to be probably around an 8-ish. That's what I'm hoping on. Could be a 7.5, but it's not a bad find for back then. That's what I'm talking about. That's an investment. That's a book that back then wasn't really going for much, But I bought this book when Infinity Gauntlet first came out, and for some reason I thought that I had sold this book. I thought I sold it back then, but no, never did sell it. And all right, so I would call these, for example, low grade investments, right? So what I do is I look for a character and I say, does that character have legs? Do I like the character first? Are there people that like the character? There's many characters that I don't like that a ton of people do like. And I know because I used to go on blogs before, not too long ago actually. I used to go on blogs, and you can tell where there's a big time fan base. X-Men will always have a big time fan base. So a character like this, like Vulcan, right, is a character that has not a big fan base, but he has a decent fan base. But I believe in the character. I love the character. When he was made, and it was Brubaker that made him, right? But when he was made, he was a real badass, man. He was just destroying people, including guys like his brother Cyclops and the rest of the X-Men. This story, for example, was a take on the original X-Men Annual Number 1, right? This is taken right from X-Men Annual Number 1, and he was the lost X-Men, right, from that story. But I just love reading about this guy. And in the War of Kings, he fought Black Bolt, and it's a story I never forgot. I always think about it, and I always go back and I look at that battle that they had. And I just think that this character has legs, and I call this a low grade investment, because a 9.8 you can get it for less than $200. And when the X-Men are introduced, see, unfortunately, people do invest on movie news. They don't always pan out. As a matter of fact, most of the time they don't pan out, majority of the time. But every now and then, a character like this pans out. My best book that I have of Tomb of Dracula, I got a 9.8 on now. Anyway, after sending it twice to CGC, I got a 9.8 on it. I only paid $100, and I got that book right after the first movie. So, yeah, it does pay sometimes, right? And back then, I paid $100 for that book, and a lot of people thought, a lot of my friends thought that I overpaid for it, but not anymore. So the only thing is, you don't know how long it would be, or how long of a wait this would be. And when I say low grade, I shouldn't even say low grade. I'm going to say low risk. So low risk because it's less than $200 for the 9.8. You can get a 9.6 on this for right around $80, and some of these books that are low risk are going to probably be like that for some of these that I'm going to show. But getting a character like this and a 9.6 and an older label, and then you could send it in to try and get a bump on it, it's not that bad to take a gamble on, especially if down the road this guy shows up in an X-Men movie, and then his book will really take off. So here's another guy. Now here's a guy that I actually don't like. I know in one video I did say that I like the guy. I don't. I hate this guy. I don't like him at all. But I used to go on comic book blogs before, and I can see that this guy has a tremendous fan base. So I bought this specifically for that fan base, not for me. So this is an investment book that will not stay in my PC, but it will get sold to somebody. The book itself hasn't really taken off. It hasn't dropped in value. It's stayed stagnant at right around 300 to the 400 level. But all it takes is a movie, and this guy will shoot up, and then that's when I'm gonna sell it. And I'm patient. This book, I bought it for around $15 back in the day, only because I saw the fan base, and I said, you know what, let me take a chance on it. And then I sent it in to get graded. Never pressed it. That's during the time that I never pressed my books. Came back as a 9.8. Not bad. That's an investment. I could sell that right now for, I don't know, close to 1,000% increase return on investment. But I choose not to, because I think I can get a lot more for it. And then here's a book that I told you guys. Now this is a character I do like. Magic. You know, did not see the movie yet, by the way, guys. But I heard it was horrible. And it makes sense because she didn't take off. I thought she might be able to take off after that movie, but you know, Sony shouldn't. They shouldn't have. I'm pretty sure it's Sony, right, that has the rights to the X-Men, or had the rights to the X-Men at the time. They should never have had those rights. I'm glad that they're with Marvel right now, and I think Marvel's going to do her justice. I told you guys I was going to go after her big, and I did. And once I get some more funds from some sales, I'm probably going to get a couple more of those, because it's a low risk investment. Less than $200 you can get this 9.8. Still, there was a little blip right there where I thought that she could take off, and it started going up. I saw some sales in the 300 level and stuff, and Then it came right back down, but there's a lot of plans with her. And I don't know, I still call that a low risk investment. And here's another low risk too. Once again, with that book, you can go out and get a 9.6 or even a raw in your mint. Send it in to get graded and see what you get, This one's another one. Less than $200. 9.6 will run you around $80 as well. You can get a 9.6 and send it in, get pressed with an old label. Send it in, get pressed, and take a chance and get a 9.8. This character, however, very low print run on Exo Man of War. And on top of that, the story for this guy is, I don't know how they would do it on a low budget. This guy needs a big budget. Space and time, but time the way the way the time should have been done, not pin particles. This is time travel the way that Einstein declared time travel. Faster than the speed of light and stuff like that. But don't want to reveal too much of this guy's story. Enough to say that, you can go out and probably purchase a trade paperback and read this story, and you could see the potential that this character has. The only problem is that it is Valiant, and Valiant, it would have to get picked up by a good director and a good producer. But I still see that as a low risk investment. And here are some of the high risk investments, and I call these high risk only because they've taken off way too high right now, I think. So here's a book that I ended up getting the newsstand, and this is a book that I traded. So I traded, and I call it a trade because it's a trade-off, really. I bought the direct edition for this at cover price. Sent it in, not pressed, and got a 9.8. That is out in my comic shop right now being sold. My sole intention was to pick up the newsstand because I saw that the movie was coming, and I figured, the closer the movie gets, maybe this book will move up. It did happen. The book is moving up with the movie coming up. I don't know if that's the reason why it's moving up, but I was anticipating that. So now I'm going to end up making a little bit of a profit off of the direct edition, and I got my newsstand for the collection. So that's an investment, like with comics, that, you pay $1.25 for the book, and now I have the potential of selling that for about $6.50. That's an investment that very few stocks will pay, even for that time from 1988. I would have had to really buy Apple for that. Even Apple, I don't think would have gave me that type of return on $1.25. I don't think it would have at the time. Here's another book. Now, this is one of the books that I've had graded more times than probably any other book out here, right? At least 50 books of this and 238 that I've sent in to get graded. You guys know the story. I traded the 9.8 for an 8.5 Incredible Hulk 181. That's not looking so bad for the guy that got the 9.8 Amazing Spider-Man, no? Not anymore. But, back then, these books were going head to head. Like, they were right there with each other back then. And it's looking like this book just caught up again to Hulk 181. Now, having the choice today, would I get the Hulk 181 8.5 or the Amazing Spider-Man 300 9.8? I would probably still go with the Hulk 181 8.5. But only, both characters are great characters. I've always said I love this book. Luckily, I kept 6 of these books, though. I sold a 9.0 that I could have sold for double that price today, and that was months ago. But I did keep 6 of these. And I still have a raw one that's in the PC. And but this is an investment. Now, I call these high risk investments right now, but I would wait on these. Just wait to see. Now, could they go up even more than what they're at right now? Yes, they could, because Donny Cates is killing it with that series with Venom, man. He is killing it, and a lot of what's going on is because of the movie and because of Donny Cates. He has brought Venom to a point where he is super highly collectible now. You know, he always has been, but now more so than before. But still, that's a very hefty price to pay. That book will probably go for $1,000, and I might send one of these in to sell because I need funds. And then here's another one that I think it's high risk, but this is still a book. See, these are books that are for its age, for the Copper Age. These are grails. These are grails of the Copper Age. And this is what I mean about there's grails all over the place, right? So in different ages, you'll have different grails. Obviously, you know, the Batman and Superman grails of the Golden Age. You know, the Schomburgs of the Golden Age, Suspense 3s of the Golden Age. I mean, Golden Age has so many grails mostly because of they don't exist as much as they were printed back then. They used to print 500,000 copies back then, a lot more than even the 90s. But because of the stock of paper, they don't exist anymore. Most of them are gone. So they became highly collectible. So a lot of those stories, if you really read them, they're garbage. They really are. I don't care how many Golden Age people get offended by that, but a lot of those stories are not great. I've read some, and quite a few, all right, and no. But there's no denying the significance of certain books, and there is great art in some of those books as well. All those Schomburgs. Schomburg was an absolute artist, all right. If there was a Picasso in comics, it was Schomburg back then. You know, Cole is another guy. I mean, and Kirby started out back then as well, and you know what Kirby became. You know, so but that age probably has the most grails. Then you move into the Silver Age, and Silver Age also has many grails. More grails than the modern age. But then the modern age, a lot of people don't think that there's too many grails in the modern age. There are. These are 2 of them, and there's many more where these came from. But you guys know that this is the first Hobgoblin. Now, the only difference with this book and that book so this one also came with a Canadian price variant. Of course, this one came with a newsstand. But the Canadian price variant on this, very rare. Very rare to get. If you get a 9.8 in that, I wonder what that would go for. Probably in the $10,000 range, I would assume, or more. This one is probably around $1,500. This is a book that keeps going up. It just keeps going up in value for good reason. That cover has been swiped 100 times over, maybe more. And first appearance of the Goblin is, if you ever read this book, you would become an instant fan of Spider-Man. If you ever read this. This was Roger Stern at his greatest. But for a 60-cent investment or a 60-cent buy back in the day to a $1,500 book. That's an investment, guys. Even if you get a 9.4 in this book, you went from 60 cents to what, $330, $350 for a 9.4. It's a great investment. It's something that you can hold. And what I'm saying that because you can't go back obviously to 1983 and purchase this book. But in the modern age, there are investments that we don't know what they're going to be later on. Not yet, but it's speculation is about guessing. But investments are more about trying to pick the right investments. And that's why today, and only in today's market, I call this high risk. But these are still grails, in my opinion. Now, these are low risk investments. So low risk investments, and these are must have, and these are like, if you have to go out and say, what's going to give me the best value for my buck? This is a Silver Age book. That's the first storyline with the Silver Surfer. Even though he's not on the cover, I would have loved it if he was on the cover. But this is his first full story in here. Now the story is not a great story. It's with Quasimodo, but there's no denying the significance of this book, right? And you can get this book. I bought this book for $150 or something like that. I mean, less than $200. And it's, I know this is going to come back in the nines, high nines. It has to. Looked it up. All right, this one's for you, Dr. Doom. You see this, Dr. Doom? What's that remind you of? Now, this is the very first story of Dr. Doom, full solo story of Dr. Doom. Big time significance. This is a book that you can go out and it's still cheap. It's still cheap. I mean, you can get a lower grade. You can get probably a 6.0 or a 7.0 for in the hundreds. Probably $200, $300. Very good investment. Very good investment, I think, even in a low grade, because this is another book that's in the Silver Age. And Silver Age books, how many books do you see out there? 25 cents. You can go out and get a high grade on this and sit on it. Sit on it. Doom is coming, and Doom is a great character. This is no Kang, guys. This isn't Kang. This is actually a great character. How many stories have you seen of Doom? Secret Wars, the original Secret Wars, a Doom storyline. That was Doom. And it started out with the Beyonder. Guess who ended up with that power? Doom. Yeah, man, this guy is a must have, in my opinion. This is a must get if you're looking to invest. Here's another one. Here's one that you can get real cheap. You could probably pick up like a near mint copy of this book for, I don't know, $30 maybe. Send it in to get graded. And this is the Canadian version of Swamp Thing number 50. You can tell it's Canadian by $1.70 price tag, and the newsstand on it. Ended up getting a 9.6 on this. Even if you get a lower grade on this and you pay like $20, just look at the pictures and make a decision on it. See if it's worth too much. If it's got a lot of wear, I wouldn't pay more than $10 on it, because you still need to press it and grade it, and that's going to cost you around $33-$35 if you're sending 25 books in. But that's a a very low risk must have book, because once that comes out on HBO, that's gonna take off. All right, keep in mind, guys, these are just books that I've gone with for my investment. But this doesn't mean that these are the books you gotta go after. You know, you guys gotta make your own decisions on what books you think are going to take off, what characters you guys think are going to be great characters. Deathstroke the Terminator might not be a character that you guys like, but this is a character that I love, right? Wolfman, he made quite a few of these characters for me. He made that character right there. He also made another book that's in here as well that he's made some classic picks, right? Classic IPs, which he doesn't own, unfortunately, but this is one of them that for quite a while this book stayed at a certain level, right around the $500 level for a 9.8. That this obviously is a 9.6, but again, this is another character that has a high ceiling, and because his book hasn't taken off, it leaves you a big opportunity to go out and get it. This is an anti-villain, but it's one of the greatest characters in comics. In my opinion, he is better than the Punisher, and he's better than the Taskmaster, in my opinion. And I've read many of books on all of those three characters. First of all, Taskmaster would fall way below this guy. Punisher would, for me anyway, would fall just underneath him. But if you read him from the beginning, you would see that this guy just has tremendous potential if he's done right. And the fact that his book is still hovering right around the $650 range on a 9.8, and you could probably pick up a 9.6 for maybe $250, it's a must buy, in my opinion. And I've invested in him. I have a couple of 9.8s already. I've sold a 9.8 in the past, and I regret that also. I sold it for $500. Alright, so here's a Canadian version. And I go with the Canadian on this because it's much rarer. A 9.6 in a Canadian for this character will cost you probably less than $300, or right around $300. A 9.8 Canadian is probably running around $700 to $800. But you can go with a 9.4 even. You know that he's gonna make an appearance sooner or later in the movie universe, and if you want to, you could sell it then. But for me, I'm a big Thor fan, and this will stay in my PC regardless. I figured to go after it right now while it's still in the $300 area for a Canadian price variant for a 9.6 for me. This guy's another must-have. Now, there's a ton of these books. I could not find a print run on this, but it's the first appearance of Lobo. And this particular issue is a signed issue by Keith Giffen. Not too many of these are signed. There's a bunch of 9.8s on it, but not too many signed. So the signed edition, you can get it for right around $300. The regular 9.8, you can get it for right around $200 or even less. I've seen it go for. And this guy's another character that's a must have. I wish that Momoa would have played this character instead of Aquaman. Momoa would have been the perfect Lobo character and all and everything. Momoa would have done it. But this is a must have at that price. Now keep in mind, of course, Venom is a much more popular character. I'm not going to say he's a better character. To some of you, obviously, but I'm not going to say he's a better character than Lobo, but he's definitely a much more popular character. But this one, for a 9.8, you're paying $5,000 for now. This one for a 9.8, you're paying $200 for. So that's why I call these must-haves. And there's less 9.8s that are signed on this than there are 9.8s that are signed on this. And the signed 9.8 on this, man, that's probably going to be like a $7,000 book. But anyway, here's another one. Take advantage of this one while you can, because Warlock hasn't shown up in the Marvel Universe yet. So 4.5 probably cost you in the $200 area, $200 to $300 probably. This is for a Silver Age book. Not bad. You can go after a 6.0 or a 7.0 for just a tad over that. And you know what, maybe quite a little more, but compared to other books like, say, a Blade, very inexpensive in my opinion. For that character, that's a very, very good book to spec on. And quite truly, this isn't really a spec. This is going to be a major character. He already is, and he's got a big fan base. And all of these characters have a fan base of the books that I picked, that I've picked for investment. Here's another Marv Wolfman creation, the New Teen Titans. DC Comics presents number 26. So with this one, you have multiple appearances here. And unlike the Young Avengers, how many characters in the Young Avengers would you say compared to Raven, Cyborg, and Starfire? On top of that, already are established characters. Hulkling, what is that? Kang's son, is that what he is? Iron Lad. The only person in the only character in the Young Avengers that I think may have some type of potential is the Archer. That's about it. And Archers, how many people really like Archers? I mean, really? All right. This is a classic book. This, to me, is the Bronze Age's version of the X-Men. That's what this book represents to me. Not talking about the new X-Men, because that's also in the Bronze Age. I'm talking about the X-Men. When the X-Men came out, this is DC's X-Men right here. And it's still a very cheap book. This book is another book that has been stale for ages, and there's not too many 9.8s on this book as there are, say, of a book like this. Obviously, this was a book from 1988, and this one's from 1980. But for, let's say, 1,300, a little bit over 1,300 9.8s on this, there's just under 500 9.8s on this one. So it presents a very good buying opportunity for, you could pay probably around $600 to $650 probably for this book, maybe $700 for this book. Not a bad investment, something to hold. Maybe one day DC will get their act together and put up something of quality. Eventually it'll happen. How long? And here's my bargain. I mean, this is the bargain of the entire bunch here. First appearance of Darkseid. No matter what you call it, is a cameo or a first appearance, this is the book that's been recognized as his first appearance. This cover is a cover that's by the great Neil Adams. Plus the collaboration on this with Jack Kirby, of course, because he wrote it and drew the insides of it. And Coletta, who has a big name. Coletta worked with Kirby for a lot of his career. This is a classic, an absolute classic. And for the prices that this fetches right now, man, you have to get it. In any grade. Get it. Get it now before he comes, and he's coming. Dark Side is coming. I have quite a few of these, and I'll keep amassing them too. I mean, I have quite a few of these covers. I'm actually going to send a 9.2 to get regraded pretty soon. So these are my must-haves, right? These are like, you know, for me. This is for me, right? These are can't miss books for collection. Now, these these are modern books that I believe that these books are going to be grails, but they're not. And these are, as of right now, high risk investments because of the price run up that they've had. It's completely different if you go out and you have bought this for, say, $50 and you got it slabbed. This is the foil variant. But at the current price that this is at right now, very high risk investment. I had to have one that was signed by Kate and Frizen. Not too many of them are, but I had to have one. This is the only 300 exist, and I don't know how many are signed by both of them, but this one is signed by both of them. And you know I've gone hard on this character. Erica Slaughter, to me, is going to be a grail to me, right? But it is high risk. I don't know for a fact that she will be. I just assume that she will be. And this is another high risk because of the price run up again. I told you guys I needed to have the combo pack at a 9.8. I needed to have it, and I paid the price for it. Just over $500 for this. But I believe in that character that much. And this is the first full appearance of one Jessica Cruz. Again, high risk investment, but I took the chance on it. Very high risk because of the price run. Here's another one that her price has been running up. Hasn't done anything yet. This character, Cindy Moon. This one I needed to have in the Campbell Negative Edition signed. Right, and the reason is because it was so cheap at the time. It still kind of is. I probably should have went after the Ramos. This is one of those that, even though there's a lot less of this 9.8, she appears in the cover for the Ramos, which there's probably at least 5 times more 9.8s in the Ramos variant than there are of this 9.8 of the negative. This is the rarest out of the Amazing Spider-Man number 4s. This is the rarest edition, but because she's not in the cover, it's not the most expensive, but it's still high risk because of the price. Now, I wanted to give you guys different options. So, I think it was Mr. Talavera that was asking me that do I hang my books. Now, when it comes to books like this, like, do I display my books, right? When it comes to books like this, for example, right, I wouldn't hang this on the wall. And the reason is because I don't want sunlight to touch this book. So what I do with books like this is I keep them away from sunlight. However, if I have, say, a book like this that I get specifically for the cover, right? And you guys know how much I love this cover. I wouldn't mind hanging this book and showing it off. Definitely wouldn't mind hanging this book at all, right? Or this book. Now, the potential for this book is much higher because of the character and because this one's limited to 3,000. But this is a beautiful book to display. If I had a man cave, which I don't, but may soon have, well, maybe not soon, but may have one, this would be a book that would be hanging in that man cave along with that, without a shadow of a doubt. And these are books that you can, this is a very low risk investment if you like the character, because it doesn't cost anything. I paid $5 for some of these issues, and they're coming back at 9.8s, and I'm sending them in a pre-screen. So I've already gotten 2 9.8s. I bought one for $50, a 9.8 already. So for me, that's a low risk investment for a cover like that. That if she ever becomes really popular, people are going to covet. This one is more of a high risk investment because, but you know what? The more I think about this character, this book though, the more I'm thinking that this book is going to be $1,000 book. I just can't see it not being that, because Wolverine doesn't have great covers. He just doesn't. This is, in my opinion, one of his top 3 covers ever. Hulk 181 and 340 are the only other covers that I will put that might be better than this. And even those covers, are they really better than this? Yeah, just maybe just the nostalgia of them, right? But this is right there. What other cover does he have that's better than this cover? None. And once he comes out, I expect this book to shoot straight up the second that you see Wolverine in the Marvel Universe, movie universe we're talking about. Alright, so we're going to talk about some really high grade investments and where to find them. And these are from the pros. And you're going to find them right here. The Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide. You know, before I go into that, this is another book. I just got this. This is part of the Grill project. Alright, but I just got this one in. This is one of those covers, man. When you talk about big time characters, those are 2 big time characters, and this cover is an automatic classic. I am going to get more of these from pullbox.com. I suggest, if you guys are fans of this and you want this issue, get it. It looks better when you hold it in your hand. It's freaking magnificent. And they're selling it, I think it ends today. Buy 3 get 3 free. I gotta go in and get it ASAP, but I'm gonna get some more. I only have 3 right now, and they all came in great. But I'm gonna put these in as low risk for cover only, and these are for cover only, guys. But this is something that you can keep and you can hang, and something that for investment purposes also. Other people are going to want this. Believe me, other people will want these without a doubt. I don't think they're going to be at that level, but definitely you can do well with it. Now, for those people that might have some, now we're talking about big time money here though. This is big time money. You can go to the pros, and this is from Overstreet. And every Overstreet guide will have these lists. And this is Golden Age. This is the creme of the creme, the cream of the crop, right? And if you have any of these books in any condition, a .5, they're worth getting. if you're getting them at market prices at the time, and this is something that you can just purchase from Amazon, the Overstreet Guide. They'll have Golden Age. They'll have the top books in the Silver Age. And as you can see, but these you're going to be paying some big time money for. They'll have your Bronze Age. There's your Hulk 181. These are the top books. House of Secrets. Star Wars #1. Only the 35-cent price variant though. And then you'll have your top 25 Copper Age. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Funny that book, Gobbledygook, is #1 there. That book I would never go after unless it's CGC graded, because that's a book that gets reprinted quite a lot, and there's a lot of fakes out there. So unless it's CGC graded, I would not buy that book. Gobbledygook. Here's your Amazing Spider-Mans. And Primer. Surprised to see Primer there. I should have shown my Primer, but another day. Here's your top modern age. Now, Walking Dead is one of those books that you don't know. Like the show made it what it is, but the show might also bring it down. Not sure how that's going to work out. I don't have that book, but yeah. And then we're going to have books here that obviously are not here right now because they haven't made their mark yet. Ultimate Fallout #4 is making its mark right now, and that's a book to me that it's gonna belong in this next age, whatever they're gonna call this next age, and that's gonna be at the top of the age. And I expect some of the books that I have to be at the top of that age as well. Now, it's up to you and what you invest in. What I have said in the past, though, is this. There's a lot of people that say, hey, you know what, my books, before I get ready to retire or when I retire, I'm going to sell them all. And that's everybody's prerogative, that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But I look at it a different way, because to those people that say, I can't take this with me to my grave, so I'm going to sell it. Yeah, no, I can't take this with me to my grave either. But if I live comfortably, if I'm satisfied with the way that I'm living, why not leave this to your loved ones? Why not? All you have to do is teach them. If you're going to leave your loved ones money, right? You're not taking that money to the grave. This right here, you can enjoy. I enjoy watching some of these. I love Lobo. I love this cover. I love seeing this cover. And then that yellow, it's freaking magnificent. I just love it, man. Why shouldn't I enjoy it? Like, unless I come across to a point where I have to sell it because I'm in a bind, then I'll sell it at that point. But that's the reason why I buy so many of them, right? Because I do sell them. And I told you guys in the past, I sold 2 Amazing Fantasy 15s. The biggest mistakes I've ever made in my life. I should have at least kept one, but I didn't. I sold them both. I never bought them back. And you know, I'm still holding on to 6 of these, but I'm gonna be letting one of these go soon, I think. And but the reason that I have multiples is because I want to keep at least one for the collection forever, right? Now, if you're like me and you're going to keep some of your books for your collection until the inevitable, obviously, right? My suggestion is teach your loved ones how to store them, teach them what they're worth, how they can find out what they're worth, and how they can sell them, and where they can sell them, and how to find out where to sell them. Because the worst thing that can happen is that you die and then they go out and sell these at bargain prices. Like, they go out and, they get some dude offer them, I don't know, $500 for the entire collection, and they say, okay, just get them all for me, which does happen quite a lot. If you guys watch Bargain Hunters right here on YouTube, that's Renee and Casey from Storage Wars. They went out and they bought an entire collection from a guy that passed away, his family. He was a hoarder. They call it the hoarder house. That guy must have had a minimum, out of everything that I've seen, I'm going to say minimum $5 million in my estimation. I mean, he had Amazing Fantasy 15, that he has multiple copies of Albedos. He had Batman #1. I mean, he had 70,000 comics in there. They estimated more than 70,000 comics, and the family sold those comics to them for $20,000, I think it was. And all they had to do was clean out the house. And what did they have to clean out the house from? Comic books and action figures and collectibles. They have, I think they've probably sold at least $1 million in comics, probably by now. And they still possess like thousands, tens of thousands of comics left. Don't let that happen to you. The family didn't know what they had there. They never knew what they had. And Renee from Bargain Hunters, he's not a thief. He's just a great businessman. It's not his responsibility to tell somebody, hey, you're selling it to me for too low. It's that person's responsibility to find out what the hell they're doing. Just saying, man, just saying. But anyway, that's my investment video. You guys choose what investment you want to make. But I would say do not put more than 10% of your money into a comic book investments that you're going to hold for profit. Diversify. Put your money in different places, so that, see, if you put everything in one basket and that basket tips, you're in a big bind. But if you put a portion of your money here, portion of your money there, portion of money there, you can withstand this basket tipping. You can wait for that basket to come back, because you have another basket that's full. So, just food for thought, my guys. Food for thought. I hope Hope you liked this. I hope you guys stuck around for this one. Later.